everyone, as 2016 is coming to a close, I thought it would be a fun idea to just look back on the music of 2016, and specifically I'll be talking about my top 10 albums of this year. Now, this is my personal opinion, so just keep that in mind. You might see some stuff that you like and see some stuff that you don't like. There are a lot of albums that I did like from this year that I won't be talking about just because my top 10 will be about the ones that I was constantly coming back to and listening to over and over. I'm also sure there are plenty of albums that you guys like from this year that I haven't heard of, so please leave those in the comments below. I love to discover new music and it'll be fun to hear what you guys have to say. Now, on with the list. So at number 10 we have Death of a Bachelor by Panic at the Disco, and I've seen that this album has been received with disappointment by some fans, and this is understandable in the fact that this album is largely different. Brendan Urie is the only original member of Panic at the Disco working on this album. But in that, I think it's interesting to kind of see what he envisions and how he's able to create that in the final product. This album's full of crazy anthems like Victorious and Hallelujah, but also softer stuff where he's crooning like Death of a Bachelor and Impossible Year. And there's, you know, crazy use of guitars, of trumpets, and all these elaborate things that just makes this really bombastic sound. Overall, I really like this album. It's not my favorite by Panic at the Disco, but I think it was just really fun and enjoyable. Number 9 for me is Awaken My Love by Childish Gambino, and this is an interesting choice for me in that it's not the typical kind of music that I do listen to, but I had several friends recommend it, so I checked it out, and I'm really glad that I did. It's a really interesting album that's full of soul and funk, and I just thought it was really enjoyable to listen to. This is my first exposure to Childish Gambino, but from my understanding, this is not Donald's typical genre that he does, and I think it's really fascinating that he was able to pull away from that genre and just experiment and do something like this that really brings back like 70s funk, and just it's really fun to see what he can bring to the table, and he really shows off his vocal abilities in this album, and I think that it's something you should definitely check out no matter what kind of music that you're into. Number 8 is Turn Into by Jay Som, and this album is just really, like, the whole atmosphere around it is really calming. It's really just something really pleasant to listen to. I think it's really dream poppy, indie, all that sorts of stuff, and it's very interesting what happened behind this album because the artist plays every instrument on it herself, and what she had done was she put a bunch of finished and unfinished songs on Bandcamp just under an untitled name, and that was later taken by Polyvinyl and released into what is now Turn Into. And I just think it's a really beautiful album that showcases her talent, and it's a great way for her to first put her music out there publicly. Number 7 is Emotional Mugger by Ty Segall. If you're not familiar with Ty Segall, he's a very experimental artist that kind of goes against the grind and does things in his own Ty Segall way. Emotional Mugger is this crazy, chaotic, staticky album that has Nine Inch Nails influences, really good uses of the synthesizers, just really raw guitar. It's like this crazy fuzz fest that just sounds so cool to the ears, and it's really cool to see what he does with this. I've seen some of the live performances on YouTube, not in real life, I'm not that cool, and it's really, really fascinating to see how he brings this to life, because I think there's an aspect in the way that he plays this album live that just brings it to a whole new level from the amazing studio recording that it is. So I would definitely check out this album if you're into stuff like that, because it's really, really cool to listen to.
And I know you moved on, telling everyone how I done you so wrong.
Number 6 is Front Row Seat to Earth by Weyes Blood, and this album is just gorgeous. It's breathtaking, it's beautiful, and I think you've got a really fascinating mix of melodies and harmonies and just this really strong vocals with it all that really ties in together to create this wonderful album that I think just flows well all throughout. I found myself liking all the songs on this album, and it's one of those that with each listen I like it and appreciate it even more. I would definitely recommend it. It's just really soothing and beautiful in every way.
If you don't love me, don't love anybody, and you're glad it's you, and you're glad it's you, and you're glad it's you, and you're glad it's you.
For number 5, we have Savages following up their debut Silence Yourself with Adore Life. And I really adore this album. I think it's really cool that they're able to bring back the previous sound they had before. Although more toned down in some aspects, I think it's also cool to see that softer side of them in some of the songs on this piece. And they still have that raw, aggressive sound in songs like The Answer and Sad Person and Evil, and I think that they pull a lot of influences from bands like Susie and the Banshees and Joy Division, but they don't play in a way that it's just like this stale copy. They are able to bring something new to the table that makes their own unique sound. I think they just have that raw aggression in this album that makes it really, really cool to listen to and just something you kind of want to headbang to. For number 4, we have Home of the Strange by Young the Giant, and I gotta say, this album's lovely in every aspect of the word. I just really like how they're able to pull elements from their past sound and further themselves by experimenting in a way that really showcases their talent on this album. I really like how this album has a lot of good hooks. It's really groovy all throughout, and they have a lot of songs that just build up in a perfect way. And I really just like the overall sound of this album because it just flows together. You got a strong intro with America, and then Home of the Strange just kind of pulls it all together quite well.
A dream, a dream. All I wanna do is tell Gardenia what to do tonight.
For number 3, I chose Post-Pop Depression by legend himself, Iggy Pop. You've got a lot of great forces at work here with Matt Helder from the Arctic Monkeys and Josh and Dean from Queens of the Stone Age, and they really just all come together and showcase their talent to produce a fantastic album. When I heard the first few seconds of Break Into Your Heart, I knew that what I was getting into would rock. And it does. You've got a lot of hypnotic bass lines and just a lot of power behind this album. I really like tracks like American Vala, German Days, Gardenia. Gardenia's my favorite! And Chocolate Drops. I think just the whole album, it starts off strong and it carries that strength all throughout and just ends that way. It's a fantastic addition to Iggy Pop's works and really shows his genius. And I've heard that it's possible that this could be his final album, and if it is, it's the perfect way to end his career. Number 2, you have an album that I was highly anticipating as I'm a massive fan of the artist. A Moon-Shaped Pool by Radiohead. It just works so brilliantly. It just comes together. You've got this lovely orchestra, this haunting, dark, beautiful music, and it just carries so much emotion and it just plays wonderfully. I really love the things that the guys do on this album. I think Tom's vocals are great and it's just really beautiful all together. I heard some of the songs before, like True Love Waits. I had heard the acoustic versions from years before, and I really had fallen in love with it and considered it one of my favorite Radiohead songs because it's just heartbreakingly beautiful, and I really love the way that they piece it together on A Moon-Shaped Pool and carried it out. I think it's still very beautiful and a perfect way to end the album. I also heard like Silent Spring, well, it's The Numbers now, but it was called Silent Spring acoustically, and I just had fallen in love with it, and the way that they expanded that acoustic version on the final album is just beautiful. I think the whole album is just something that you can kind of just listen to and just get lost because it's just fantastic. I like it more than The King of Limbs personally, and I think Radiohead just really pulled it off this time. Alright you guys, it's time for number 1, so drum roll please.
Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter and stepped aside. Somebody else took his place and bravely cried, I'll be free. Ain't that just like me?
Number 1 is Blackstar by David Bowie. Now, if you know me well, this doesn't come across as a huge surprise because I've been a huge David Bowie fan since I was like 11 or 12. But yeah, here it is. My number 1 choice, Blackstar, definitely. I think Blackstar really just comes across again to showcase the brilliance of David Bowie and how legendary of a musician he is. It's got a lot of crazy sounds and experimentation that just shows that Bowie was not afraid to do these crazy things, and he never was, and he still continues that in this final work of art. I really love the emotion in this album. I mean, you all know that he was very well aware that he was dying, and he just really carries that through. Listen to Lazarus, I Can't Give Everything Away. I really just love those pieces, and I think this album is brilliant in that he was able to create such a masterpiece on his deathbed that I don't think many people could accomplish who are still alive and well today. And I just think it's the perfect way to say goodbye and to leave behind his legacy. Alright, you guys, there's my top 10 albums of the year. Please leave yours down below, leave your thoughts below, and just let me know what kind of albums that you really liked from this year. And you know, most importantly of all, you guys have a great and happy new year, and I hope 2017 is really good for you all.